Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Putri Rahawati, and I'm the student of English Education Department program at University Jepara. And today, I would like to give an explanation about phonology. These are the materials that we are going to learn today. First, introduction to phonology, the difference between phonology and phonetic. The third is the definition of vowel, classification of vowel, the definition of consonants, and the classification of consonants. The first material is about the definition of phonology. These are the three definitions of phonology. First is phonology is a branch of linguistics concerns with systematic organization of sounds in the languages. Phonology focuses on particular languages. For example, when we study about phonology in English, it's different when we study about phonology in Bahasa. And the second one is phonology, study of the speech sound and its relation in the environmental. Phonology study how the speech sound is pronounced differently in different environmental or in different words. And the last is study about phonemes. What is phonemes? Phoneme is the smallest unit of language. It has no meaning. And the second is the difference between phonology and phonetic. Phonology studies the way speech sounds are organized, while phonetic studies about the production of the speech sound by the speakers without concern its meaning. For example, the phonetic studies how to pronounce the sound T, while the phonology studies how to pronounce T sound in different words, such as in word aid and butter. In word aid and butter, has same phoneme and it is T, but the T sound is pronounced differently. And the next is about vowel. What is vowel? Vowel is a letter representing a speech sound made with vocal tract open. For example, the letter A, E, A, I, U, E, and O. In general, there are three classifications of vowel. First is monophthong. Monophthong is vowels that were pronounced at one and at the same place. And the second is diphthong. Diphthong is a vowel sound in which there is an intentional glide made from one vowel position to another vowel position, and which is produced in one single impulse of breath. And the third is triphthong. It's a glide from one vowel to another and to the third. Some people speak of triphthong for a group of diphthong plus schwa. Schwa is the letter of A. And the next is about monophthong. There are four classifications of monophthong. The first is the part of tongue is raised. There are 3 points or three points. First is front vowel, for example, E, center vowel, for example, and back vowels, for example, U. And the second is the height of the part of tongue. Closed vowel, for example, E. Closed mid, for example, A. Open mid, for example, A. Open, for example, A. And the position of lips. Rounded vowels, for example, O. And unrounded vowels, for example, E. Tongue position. First is high, for example, E. Intermediate, for example, A. And low, for example, A. And the next is about diphthong. There are 3 classifications. First is ending in O. Ear, here. L, there. U, pure. Ending in E. A, take. I, time. Oi, boy. Ending in U. O, home. Ow, how. And the next is about triphthong. Aye, tired. Aye, layer. Hour, sour. Ewer, lower. Oil, lawyer. And the next is about consonant. What is consonant? A consonant is a speech sound that is articulated with complete or partial closure of the vocal tract. This is the table of consonants. There are 2 classifications of consonants. First is the horizontal. Here is the place of articulation, And the vertical here is the manner of articulation. The first classification is place of articulation. There are bilabial, for example, P and B, labiodental, for example, F and V, and the dental, for example, in th and the, and alveolar, for example, in T and D. And the next is palatal, for example, J, palatal alveolar, for example, sh and j, velar, for example, k and g, glottal, for example, in ha. And the next classification is manner of articulation. There are plosive, for example, P, B, T, D. Plosive are sounds in which there is a complete closure of mouth, so that the air is blocked for a fraction of a second, then released, such as in P, B, T, D, like I said before. The next is nasal, for example, and n. And the next is fricative, for example, is f, v, s, z. And the next is laterals, for example, is l. And the approximants, for example, is j and r. I think this all for me. Thank you for attention. And wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.